The hangar was loud with the sound of alien boots and metal claws clanging against the floor. Engines roared as sleek starships powered down, their hulls glowing from re-entry heat. Massive banners of the Galactic Legion hung from the ceiling, like grim reminders. Strength above all. And in the middle of all this, she stood. Lyra held small, fragile, human. Her Terran flight suit looked too loose, as if it belonged to someone else. Her dark hair was tied back tightly, but a few strands fell across her face as she gripped her duffel bag. She took a deep breath. "This is it," she whispered to herself. No turning back. The air smelled of oil and ozone. Alien voices barked commands in languages she didn't understand. Towering reptilian warriors in Black Legion armor passed by her, sneering down at her. A four-armed Dravari recruit laughed openly, showing rows of needle-like teeth. "Is that the human they sent us?" he growled in the common tongue, loud enough for everyone to hear. She wouldn't last 5 minutes on Korath's surface. She won't last 5 seconds in the Void Gauntlet, another voice hissed. Lyra tightened her grip on the duffel and kept walking. Her boots felt too heavy. Her chest burned with every breath, but she refused to look weak. Then the hangar. Lights flickered. A deep, guttural roar echoed through the chamber. It wasn't like any sound she'd ever heard, low and resonant, shaking her bones as though the noise came from inside her own chest. A hush fell over the recruits. Even the Dravera's mocking grin froze. Lyra turned her head toward the sound. At the far end of the hangar, a massive containment pod was being lowered from a freighter. Guards in exosuits stood in tight formation around it, their plasma rifles humming with energy. A large black shape moved within the glowing energy field. Too fast to make out clearly, then it stopped. The creature pressed against the energy barrier, its glowing yellow eyes cutting through the haze. They swept across the hangar like a predator. Scanning for prey, when they landed on Lyra, her breath caught in her throat. The eyes locked on her, and for a brief, terrible second, she felt utterly exposed, as though the creature wasn't looking at her, but into her. The energy field sparked. Violently, one of the guards shouted, "It's agitated. Increase the field strength." But instead of lashing out, the creature went completely still, its glowing eyes narrowed. And then slowly, impossibly, it lowered its massive head. A whisper rippled through the recruits. Did it just bow? It's impossible. One alien hissed. "Void stalkers don't submit. They kill." Lyra's heart hammered in her chest. She couldn't look away. The Dravari stepped closer to her, his voice low and accusing. "What did you do, human?" "Nothing," Lyra said, quickly stepping back. "I didn't do anything." The guards reactivated the containment field, and the Void Stalker let out a sharp hiss before sinking back into the shadows of its cage. The hangar lights brightened again. Slowly the recruits returned to their chatter, though now they kept glancing at Lyra as if she were something strange, something dangerous. The orientation later that day, the recruits assembled in a vast amphitheater. Screens displayed images of the Void Stalker tearing through armored vehicles, clawing through titanium walls, consuming entire squads of soldiers. "This is the most dangerous predator in the galaxy," Commander Vera said. Her voice was cold, sharp. "Single specimen can decimate a battalion, and yet—" Her eyes swept the room, landing on Lyra for a moment. "It submitted to one of you." A murmur went through the crowd. "I don't know how, and I don't care. What I care about is strength. Prove you have it, or you'll be sent home in a coffin." The screen switched to the Legion's motto, "Only the strong survive." Lyra's hands tightened into fists. She could still feel those glowing eyes on her, even here. The challenge that recruits were sent to the training grounds for their first combat simulation. It's a virtual environment designed to weed out the weak. Lyra tried to blend in, but it didn't. "Work you," the Dravari barked, pointing at her. "Fight me. Prove a Terran isn't as weak as your bones look." "I don't want trouble," Lyra said. That wasn't a request. Before she could react, he lunged. His forearms swung. In a blur, claws flashing. Lyra dodged the 1st strike, barely avoiding the 2nd. The 3rd hit her square in the chest. knocking her flat. The simulation's pain dampeners couldn't hide the agony in her ribs. Pathetic, the Dravari sneered. You'll never last out here, Terran. Lyra coughed and tried to stand. I won't give up. The Dravari raised his claw for the finishing blow, but then the simulation froze. An alarm wailed across the training ground. Containment breach? A mechanical voice barked. Void Stalker is loose. Recruits to evac zones immediately. The Predator unleashed holograms flickered and died. The metal walls shook as something massive slammed into them. A roar ripped through the air deeper. Louder and more primal than before. Guards flooded the area, weapons raised, and there it was. The Void Stalker. No cage. No field. No restraints. It moved like liquid shadow, claws clicking against the floor, its teeth glinting in the dim light. Open fire, the guard shouted. But the creature ignored them, turned its massive head, and fixed its glowing eyes on Lyra. She froze. It was coming for her. No, she whispered, not me, please. The Void Stalker prowled closer. Recruits scattered, some screaming. The Dravari stumbled back, his bravado gone. Kill it. Somebody kill it. But the Predator didn't attack. It stopped 2 feet from Lyra. The air felt thick and heavy, every breath like dragging fire into her lungs. The creature lowered its head and bowed. The Void Stalker's glowing eyes stayed fixed on Lyra Hale. Everyone else in the training yard had gone silent. Dozens of recruits aliens of every shape and size stood frozen as the galaxy's most feared predator lowered its massive head. In front of the small human girl, even the guards, weapons raised and trembling, dared not fire. This can't be real, whispered one of the Dravari recruits. His claws clicked nervously. Void Stalkers don't submit. They kill. But here it was, the beast's hulking frame just meters away from Lyra, its claws scraping lightly on the metal floor as it crouched in what could only be described as reverence. The standoff Lyra's breathing was shallow. Her pulse thundered. In her ears, why me? She whispered. The Void Stalker tilted its head slightly as though curious. A low rumble vibrated in its chest. Behind her, a squad leader in powered armor barked into his coms. Containment teams. Sector 7 breach. The Stalker's out-tanned it's acting wrong. Wrong how? Came a sharp voice on the other end. It's not attacking. It's bowing to the Terran recruit. There was silence on the channel. And do not engage unless authorized. Observe only. Reinforcements inbound. The Predator took another step toward Lyra. Its long tail swept the floor. Cutting a shallow groove in the durasteel, the Dravari recruit who had mocked her earlier found his voice. She's controlling it somehow. He spat, backing away. She's a spy. No human could do this. I'm not controlling anything, Lyra said. Her voice shaking, but she wasn't sure she believed it. The Void Stalker's breathing quickened. Its nostrils flared as it inhaled deeply, almost like it was scenting her. Then it emitted a sharp, chittering sound, low and rapid, and lowered its massive head until its jaw was level with her chest. Don't move, the squad leader ordered. Lyra's muscles locked. She couldn't have moved if she wanted to. Slowly. She extended her hand. Her fingers trembled as they hovered over the Stalker's smooth, armored skull. Don't touch it, the squad leader barked. If you touch it, it'll rip your arm. Off her fingers brushed its skin. The Void Stalker made a sound no one had ever recorded from its species before. A deep, rumbling purr. The Predator protects just then. A group of recruits made a break for the exit, one of them a tall insectoid ran too close to Lyra. The Void Stalker's head snapped toward the movement. It let out a deafening roar, its maw opening wide to reveal rows of jagged, glistening teeth. Stay back. The squad leader screamed, but it was too late. The Predator lunged. Claws flashed. Metal screeched. The insectoid recruit screamed as the Void Stalker pinned him to the floor. Hold fire, barked the squad leader. If you shoot, you'll hit the recruit. The insectoid thrashed wildly, screaming in terror. Then Lyra shouted, Stop! The Void Stalker froze. Its claws hovered an inch from the recruit's neck. Saliva dripped from its jaws. Its glowing eyes shifted back to Lyra. "Let him go," she said softly. The predator let out a low growl, then lifted its claw and stepped back. The insectoid scrambled to his feet and bolted for the far wall. Shrieking, "Holy stars," muttered one of the guards. "Listen, stir." The aftermath minutes later, containment teams arrived in heavy exormer. Plasma rifles, shock nets, and sonic cannons surrounded the creature. "Stand down, Terran," shouted the squad leader. "Move away from the Voidstalker." Lyra hesitated. "It won't hurt me," she said. "That's not your call." She took a cautious step back. The Voidstalker's breathing quickened. It let out an angry hiss and turned toward the containment teams. "Deploy nets." Dozens of crackling energy nets fired at once, wrapping the creature in blinding blue light. The stalker roared and thrashed, but the nets held. "Reinforce the field. Don't let it break out again," as they dragged the creature back to its containment pod. Its glowing eyes stayed locked on Lyra, even as the pod sealed with a hiss of vapor. She could feel its gaze burning through her. The interrogation, ours. Later, Lyra sat in a cold metal chair in an interrogation room. A pair of alien officers loomed over her, a tall, blue-skinned Seraph and a squat. "Borin, explain yourself, Terran," the Seraph hissed. "How did you tame the galaxy's apex predator?" "I didn't tame it," Lyra said. It just listened to me. That's impossible. I know." The Corran officer's voice was like gravel. "Perhaps you used Terran pheromones, or some hidden technology. If you are a spy, this is your only chance to confess." "Not a spy," Lyra protested. "I don't know why it obeyed me. I was just as scared as everyone else." The Seraph slammed a clawed hand on the table. "Voidstalkers have no masters. They bow to no one. But this one bowed to you." "Why? I don't know," Lyra said. Softly, but in the back of her mind, memory stirred. A childhood memory. She was 8 years old. Wandering too far into the woods near her home on Earth, a strange animal, big, black, and wounded, had lain in a clearing, its yellow eyes dim. With pain, she had knelt beside it and whispered, "It's okay. I won't hurt you." The memory faded. "Terran?" the Corran officer growled. "Answer the question." Lyra blinked. I really don't know." The officers exchanged glances. "Until we find the truth," the Seraph said coldly, "you are hereby confined to quarters. You will not speak to other recruits. You will not approach the Voidstalker again. Understood?" "Yes," Lyra said. But deep down, she knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The predator watches that night. Lyra lay awake in her small cabin, outside her window. The stars stretched like rivers of light. She couldn't shake the feeling of those glowing eyes watching her. Even now in the distance, deep in the ship's hold, a low rumble echoed through the metal walls. The void. Stalker was still awake, and it was calling for her. The alarms screamed through the corridors of the Nova Primus. Red lights flashed. Metal doors slammed shut as defense systems activated across the ship. Enemy fleet inbound. All hands to battle stations. Lyra Hale stumbled out of her cabin as the ship shook violently. Soldiers and recruits sprinted past her, clutching plasma rifles and shouting in alien tongues. Her stomach knotted with fear. She wasn't supposed to be here. She wasn't supposed to be part of this war, and yet she couldn't shake the memory of those glowing yellow eyes watching her in the dark. The enemy arrives on the command deck. The situation was chaos. Multiple hostiles just dropped out of warp, barked Commander. Vera, her claws gripped the edge of the holotable as enemy ships appeared in red across the display. A Legion officer hissed, "It's the Karn Dominion. They brought a dreadnought." The Karn ships were massive, like jagged blades of obsidian drifting through space, their weapons charged with a sickly green glow. "They're targeting our engines," Vera growled. "If they disable us, we're dead." A young alien officer turned pale. "We don't have enough firepower to hold them off. We need reinforcements. Reinforcements won't come in time." The Nova Primus shook again as a Karn torpedo slammed into its shields. Sparks rained from the ceiling. then a low guttural sound rumbled through the coms of voice. Karn language, translated by the ship's AI. Surrender the human female. Give us the Terran, and we will spare your ship. Every officer turned toward Commander Vera, her yellow eyes narrowed. The Delimalira was brought to the command deck moments later. 2 armored guards flanked her, plasma rifles at the ready. "What's going on?" she asked, her voice trembling. Vera's cold gaze fell on her. "The Karn Dominion wants you, Terran. They're offering to let this ship live. If we give you to them." "Me," Lyra whispered. "Why, you tell us." "I don't know," a reptilian officer hissed. "She's lying." The Void Stalker obeys her. Now the Karn demand her. "This human is more dangerous than we thought." "I'm not dangerous," Lyra cried. The ship shook again. Another hit. "We don't have time for this," Vera growled. "If we surrender you, we save 3,000 lives. If we keep you, we all burn." Lyra's heart pounded. Her hands were shaking. "Please," she whispered. "I don't know what's happening, but if you give me to them, they'll kill me. You know that." Vera's claws tapped the console. The crew stared at her, waiting for a decision. But before she could speak, deafening roar echoed through the ship. "The Predator escapes again. Containment breach," screamed a voice over the coms. "Void Stalker is broken free." Predator's roar reverberated through the metal walls. "This isn't a coincidence," hissed an officer. "The beast knows." Security footage blinked onto the screens. The Void Stalker was tearing through bulkheads, claws glowing red-hot from the friction. Its glowing eyes burned like twin suns as it prowled through the ship's lower decks, and it was heading straight. "For the command center, deploy shock teams. Stop it before it gets here." The Predator arrives as the armored doors of the command deck buckled under a massive impact. Boom dot boom dot, the officers raised their weapons. "Hold your fire," ordered. The doors exploded. Inward the Void Stalker stepped through. The smoke, its black carapace, glistening in the red emergency lights. Its long tail swayed behind it like a whip. It ignored the soldiers. It ignored the officers. Its glowing yellow eyes fixed on one person only. Lyra Hall. The command the soldiers raised their rifles. "Stand down," Lyra shouted instinctively. The Void Stalker froze. It emitted a deep, rumbling sound that made the walls vibrate. Slowly, it padded across the deck until it loomed over Lyra. The officers watched in stunned silence as the Predator lowered its head. "It's waiting for her orders," one of them whispered. "That's impossible," said another. Lyra swallowed hard. Her voice came out barely above a whisper. "Protect this ship." Void Stalker's head snapped up. It let out a piercing roar and turned toward the holoscreens displaying the Karn fleet. "No," Vera said sharply. "She can't. She's not in command here." It was too late. The Predator leapt through the shattered doors, disappearing down the corridor. The battle begins outside the Nova Primus. The Karn ships prepared for their final strike, but then something massive streaked out from the Legion vessel. The Void Stalker, surrounded by an aura of glowing energy, launched itself through the vacuum of space. It slammed into a Karn fighter, tearing through its hull like paper. The Predator clawed its way across the enemy fleet, shredding ships in a frenzy of destruction. On the command deck, the officers watched in disbelief. "It's fighting for us," said a Seraph lieutenant. "No," Commander Vera corrected. Her eyes flicked toward Lyra. "It's fighting for her." The turning tide with the Void Stalker wreaking havoc. The Karn fleet broke formation. Smaller ships fled as their dreadnought fired wildly, trying to hit the Predator. Lyra stepped forward, her voice stronger now. "Target the dreadnought's weak points." I can send it there," Vera growled. "Yes, it listens too." "Me." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Vera gave a sharp nod. "Do it." Lyra touched the console. "Go for the engines," she whispered, on the view screen. The Void Stalker's head turned slightly, as if hearing her across the void. Then it struck. The aftermath, the Karn. Dreadnought exploded in a burst of green fire. The surviving enemy ships jumped to warp. Retreating into the darkness, on the command deck, silence reigned for the first time. The alien officers didn't look at Lyra with contempt or suspicion. They looked at her with fear and awe. A new role later, etched in the quiet of the briefing. Room Commander Vera stared at Lyra. "You're not just a recruit anymore," the commander said. "That creature listens to you. It obeys you. And for reasons I don't understand, the Karn fear you." "I don't want this," Lyra said softly. "Too bad. You've just become our greatest weapon." Vera leaned forward, her yellow eyes sharp as blades. "You'd better learn how to use it." In the lower decks of the ship, the Void Stalker, curled up inside its containment pod, but its eyes were still glowing, and it wasn't sleeping. It was waiting for her voice. The Void Stalker's eyes glowed in the darkness from inside its containment pod. The apex predator watched Lyra hailed through the thick energy field. Its breathing was slow, steady, almost calm, but there was something in its gaze. Something unsettling. It wasn't just watching her, it was waiting. The debatin', the High Council room aboard Nova Primus. The argument raged on. "You saw it yourself," roared Commander Vera, slamming her clawed fist on the table. "That creature listens only to the Terran. Without her, this ship would have been destroyed," a Dravari counselor hissed. "Or perhaps it chose her to manipulate us, human commanding." "A Void Stalker? That's unnatural." "She's a danger to the entire fleet," growled a Corran officer, "and we should execute her before the Karn return." Lyra sat silently in the center of the room, her hands gripping her knees so tightly her knuckles turned white. "I'm not a danger," she said softly. "I didn't ask for any of this." "Yet the Predator obeys you," Vera said. "Makes you the most valuable or the most dangerous being on this ship." The council fell silent. Finally, a Seraph scientist spoke. His voice was calm, but cold. "We need to understand this bond. Separate the human and the Predator. Study them both." The experiment the next day. Lyra was led into the science deck, her wrists bound in energy cuffs. "I don't think this is a good idea," she said nervously. "It's not your choice," the Seraph scientist replied. "We must test the limits of this connection." Through the observation window, she saw the Void Stalker restrained by glowing chains inside. Reinforced chamber. Its claws scraped lightly against the floor as soon as it saw her. The Predator let out a low, rumbling growl. "Begin separation protocol," the scientist ordered. Energy barriers slid into place between her and the growl grew louder. Now increased distance. The floor panels moved, pulling Lyra and the Predator farther apart. Heart rate rising, a technician noted. "Both of them. It's a breaking point now. Let's try a disruption pulse," the scientist said. A loud bzzzzzzzt filled the room as sonic waves struck the Predator. The Void Stalker roared and thrashed violently against its chains. Its glowing eyes flared brighter. "Stop," Lyra screamed. "Observe its response," the scientist said calmly. "We need to know if it reacts to pain. Stop it." The Predator threw itself against the energy field, claws slamming into the barrier with incredible force. Field strength at 90% tits breaking through. A technician shouted, "Shut it down." The scientist barked, but before the team could act, the Void Stalker let out a deafening roar. The chains snapped. The energy field shattered like glass. Containment breach. Guards poured into the room, weapons raised. "Hold your fire," Lyra cried, but no one listened. The Predator's Rage Blaster. Bolts lit up the chamber as soldiers fired wildly. The Void Stalker dodged every shot with terrifying speed, moving like a living shadow. It slammed one soldier into the wall, sending his weapon flying. "Stop shooting," Lyra screamed. "You're making it worse." The Predator turned its glowing eyes toward her. Then it lunged. The soldiers shouted in panic. But the Void Stalker didn't attack her. It wrapped its massive body around her protectively, its armored back facing the soldiers. "Cease fire." "Cease." "Fire," barked Commander Vera as she entered the room. The shooting stopped. Smoke and silence filled the air. The truth revealed, Lyra stood frozen as the Void Stalker curled closer around her. "It's protecting her," Vera whispered. The Sarah scientist stepped forward cautiously. "This isn't just a random connection," he said. "There's something deeper here." "What do you mean?" Vera demanded. The scientist pulled up Lyra's medical scans on a holoscreen. "Her DNA I found. Anomalies. Anomalies." The scientist nodded. "Human DNA contains a dormant sequence, one I've only seen before in ancient Void Stalker samples. It's almost like the Stalker recognizes her as one of its own." Lyra's eyes widened. "That's impossible," she whispered. "Or maybe not," the scientist said. "What if humans and Void Stalkers share a common ancestor? Something ancient, something forgotten." The room fell silent. The Choice Commander Vera's expression hardened. "Whether or not that's true," she said, "this changes nothing. The Karn will come for her again. And next time, they won't stop until she's dead or until we are." Lyra looked up at her. "Then let me help," she said softly. "You're a recruit," Vera growled. "You're not ready for war." "I didn't ask for this," Lyra said. "But maybe this bond can save lives. Let me try." For a long moment, Vera stared into her eyes. Then she nodded once. "Fine. But if you lose control of that thing, I'll put you down myself." Cliffhanger ending later that night, in her quarters. Lyra sat cross-legged on the floor. The Void Stalker was curled up on the other side of the energy field, its glowing eyes watching her silently. "Why me?" she whispered. "Why did you choose me?" The creature made a low, rumbling sound, and deep in her mind, Lyra thought she heard a faint voice. "Because you are one of us." She gasped and stumbled back. The voice was gone. But the connection was still there, stronger than ever. The lights flickered on the Nova Pry, down in the lower decks. Lyra Hale could feel a strange heaviness in the air, like a storm waiting to break. The Void Stalker shifted uneasily in its reinforced chamber, its glowing yellow eyes darting back and forth. It wasn't calm anymore. It was afraid, and that terrified Lyra even more. The warning on the command deck. Alarms blared. "Unidentified energy signatures detected," reported a Seraph technician. "Multiple warp trails, heading straight." For us, Commander Vera's claws tapped the console. "How many?" The technician hesitated. "At least 5. But they're energy readings. They're not Karn ships." "Put it on screen." The holodisplay flickered to life, showing dark, spiny vessels drifting through space. They were shaped like elongated predators, their hulls covered in jagged fins and pulsing organic lights. "They're alive," whispered one officer. Vera's eyes narrowed. "Contact them." A moment later, a voice crackled over the comms. "Return. The Stalker, or be devoured." The voice wasn't mechanical, was deep, guttural, almost animal. "What are they?" asked a Corran lieutenant. The Seraph technician's face paled. "I think they're Voidborn." "Impossible," Vera hissed. "Our Voidborn were wiped out centuries ago." "Apparently not." The voice came again, louder this time. "The Stalker is ours. Surrender it, and we will let you live. Refuse, and we will burn your ship from the inside out." The Fearin, the Science Bay. Lyra stood in front of the Void Stalker's chamber. The Predator was pacing now, claws clicking. Against the floor, its massive shoulders rising and falling with each deep breath. "It knows them," said the Seraph scientist. "Look at its body language. It's afraid." Lyra shook her head. "I've never seen it like this," she whispered. "What are the Voidborn?" The scientist looked grim. "The Voidborn are a race of apex predators. The Stalker is one of their kind, but it's a defector. It escaped them centuries ago and survived alone. They've come to reclaim it or kill it." Why? "Because to the Voidborn, a Stalker that disobeys their order is an abomination." The ship shook violently. "Enemy boarding parties detected," shouted a voice over the intercom. "Hull breach is on decks 6, 9, and 12. The enemy enters." The first wave of Voidborn warriors tore through the ship's corridors. They were massive 8 feet tall, covered in spiny black armor that seemed to grow from their own bodies. Their claws glowed faintly blue, slicing through Legion soldiers like paper. "Fall back," screamed a squad leader, but it was no use. The Voidborn were hunting, the Predators bombed in the science bay. The Voidstalker slammed its claws against the energy field. Lyra Hale, the scientist, said nervously, "We need to evacuate. If those creatures reach this deck..." The stalker let out a deafening roar. Lyra pressed her hand against the energy barrier, staring into its glowing eyes. "You want to fight them, don't you?" she whispered. The Predator stilled, then lowered its head slightly. "It's waiting for your command," the scientist said. "She's not a soldier," Vera snapped as she entered the room. "She's barely a recruit. She's the only one it listens to." The scientist shouted back. Vera's yellow eyes narrowed at Lyra. "If you open that chamber and lose control, this entire ship will burn." "I won't lose control," Lyra said softly. "The release opened the chamber," Vera said. The scientist hesitated. "Do it," Vera ordered. A hiss of vapor escaped as the energy field dropped. The Voidstalker stepped out slowly, its claws clicking against the floor. Its glowing eyes locked onto Lyra as it let out a low rumble. "Go," she whispered. "Protect this ship." The Predator roared and leaped into the corridor, moving faster than any of the soldiers could follow. The clash of Predators in Deck 9, a Voidborn warrior crouched over the body of a fallen Legion soldier. It looked up just in time to see a massive black shape slam into it from the side. The Voidstalker tore into the enemy with a furious roar, claws ripping through armor and flesh. The Voidborn warrior screeched and lashed out with glowing blue claws, slicing into the Stalker's side. Black ichor sprayed across the walls. The two Predators crashed through the corridor in a blur of claws and teeth. The turning tightened the command deck. Aero watched the battle unfold on the security feeds. "It's fighting them." "Outnumbered," said a Seraph officer. "Reinforce Deck 9, Vera ordered. "No," Lyra shouted. The officers turned to her. "You don't understand," she said. "Soldiers will only get in the way. Stalker needs space to fight. Or we'll lose both." Vera hesitated, then nodded. "Pull our forces back. Give the beast room." The Predator's enemy in Deck 9. The Voidstalker faced the largest Voidborn yet. This one was massive, nearly twice the Stalker's size. With glowing blue veins running across its black sight, it let out a roar that shook the ship. The Voidstalker lowered itself into a crouch, its glowing eyes narrowing. The two Predators circled each other. Then they struck. Claws flashed. Teeth snapped. The fight was brutal, fast, and terrifying. The larger Voidborn slammed the Stalker against the wall, denting the metal. Black blood dripped onto the floor, but the Stalker didn't give up. It rolled to the side, dodged a killing blow, and sank its claws deep into the Voidborn's throat. With a final roar, it ripped the enemy's head free. The massive body slumped to the floor. The aftermath, the remaining Voidborn warriors hesitated. Then, as if sensing their leaders' death, they let out screeches and fled back to their ships. The Nova Primus shuddered as the Voidborn fleet jumped to warp, leaving nothing but wreckage behind. On the security feed, the Voidstalker stood tall over the body of its fallen enemy. Then it slowly turned its glowing eyes toward the camera, toward Lyra. Later, in the quiet of the science bay, Lyra stood face to face with the Voidstalker. "You saved us," she whispered. The Predator tilted its massive head. "Why?" she asked softly. "Why are you protecting me?" The voice came again deep in her mind. "Because you are the key to our survival." Lyra stumbled back, her heart pounding. "What does that mean?" she whispered. But the Voidstalker only stared, and for the first time, Lyra felt a terrible growing truth in her bones. This wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. The stars drifted silently beyond the Nova Primus viewing deck. Lyra Hale stood alone, staring out into the black void. Somewhere out there, the Voidborn fleet was regrouping. They weren't gone, and next time they wouldn't hesitate to burn every ship in the Legion just to reach her. Her reflection in the glass didn't look like her anymore. The girl she had been a timid recruit from Earth was gone. Now, she wasn't even sure she was human. The door slid open. Behind her, with a hiss, "You should be resting," said Commander Vera. Lyra didn't turn. "I can't. The Voidborn are gone. For now." Lyra's hands tightened into fists. "They'll be back. And this time, they'll bring more." Vera stepped forward, her yellow eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "You've been avoiding?" "The science deck." "I don't want to hear what they'll say," Lyra whispered. "They've already confirmed it." Vera's voice was calm, but sharp. "You're not entirely human." Lyra's stomach dropped. The revelation in the science bay. The Sereth scientists pulled up a rotating DNA model. Human DNA contains fragments we've never documented before. Old sequences, dormant for millennia, we thought they were. Junk. Lyra sat stiffly in the chair, her heart pounding. "Are you saying I'm part alien? Not alien," the scientist said. "Something older than that." He tapped the display, zooming in on a glowing section of the DNA strand. "These markers match Voidstalker biosignatures. Almost perfectly." "That's impossible," Lyra said. "Maybe not. The Voidstalkers aren't just predators. They're survivors. They've existed longer than most civilizations. What if long ago one of them mingled with an early human ancestor?" Lyra shook her head. "No, humans aren't like them." The scientist's gaze hardened. "Then explain why the Stalker obeys you." "The Stalker speaks that night." Lyra sat cross-legged in front of the Voidstalker's containment chamber. Its glowing eyes watched her silently, unblinking. "I don't understand," she whispered. "Why me? Why did you choose me?" Hello. Rumble vibrated through the air then. The voice came again. "Because you are one of us." Lyra's breath caught. "Who are you?" she asked softly. "We are the old blood," the voice said. "The first predators. The Karn fear us. The Voidborn hunt us. And you are the bridge between our worlds." "What does that mean?" "It means you are not prey. You are alpha." The Karns farroned the command deck. Alarms blared. "Incoming transmission from the Karn Dominion," reported a Sereth technician. "Put it through," Vera ordered. The holoscreen flickered to life, showing a Karn warlord, a massive reptilian creature draped in bone armor. "Sereth commander," the Karn hissed. "You are harboring an abomination." Vera's claws twitched. "What abomination?" "The Terran, the girl? Do not play dumb. We know what she is. The old blood sleeps within her." "She's under Legion protection," Vera said coolly. "Stand down." The Karn let out a guttural laugh. "Fool, you think you can protect yourselves? If she awakens, she will not save you. She will consume you." The screen went black. The choice later, in the war room, Vera slammed her claws. On the table, the Karn are scared. "That's why they want her dead. Or they're right," a Karn officer said darkly. "She's too dangerous. Even the Voidborn want her. They fear her because she's powerful," Vera snapped. "And power is what we need." "Tss, a recruit," the officer growled. "Not a weapon. She's our weapon now." The bond deepens in the science bay. The Voidstalker watched Lyra intently. "Do you remember your ancestors?" she asked softly. "We remember the hunt." "What happens if the Voidborn find us?" "They will bow. Or they will die." The predator rose to its full height, claws scraping the floor. Its glowing eyes seemed to pierce through her soul. "But if you are not ready, all will burn." Lyra felt a sharp pain in her chest. She gasped and stumbled backward. Her vision blurred dot for a split second. She saw through the Voidstalker's eyes racing through alien jungles, tearing apart prey. "Bathing in blood," she screamed, and then it was gone. The transformation when she looked down, her hands were shaking violently. Her fingernails were longer, sharper claws. "No," she whispered. The Voidstalker tilted its massive head. "The old blood awakens. You cannot stop it." Cliffhanger ending on the outer rim of the galaxy. The Voidborn fleet gathered. In the center of the swarm floated a massive bioship, larger than any planet Lyra had ever seen. Inside, a colossal Voidborn Alpha raised. "Its head, the half-blood, must die," it hissed, "before she remembers what she truly is." The Nova Primus drifted quietly through the void, but inside, nothing was calm. Lyra Hale's chest heaved as she stumbled down a dimly lit corridor, her hands clutching the walls for balance. Her breathing came out in ragged gasps. She didn't know how much longer she could fight it. The change started with her fingertips. First, the nails. They'd sharpened into claws 2 nights ago, though she had hidden them under gloves. Then came her vision, able to see in complete darkness, picking up faint heat trails. And now, she could hear heartbeats. Dozens of them all around her. Some fast, nervous. Others slow, calm. She squeezed her eyes shut, pressing her palms to her ears. "Stop," she whispered. "Stop, stop, stop," but the sound wouldn't go away. It was like her body wasn't hers anymore. The Predator watches in the lower decks. The Void Stalker sat coiled inside its containment pod. Its glowing yellow eyes followed Lyra as she entered. "Why is this happening to me?" she demanded. Her voice cracked, but her legs held steady. The Predator tilted its massive head. "Because you are no longer prey." "Stop speaking in riddles," she snapped. "Tell me the truth. What's happening to me?" The air seemed to vibrate with the Stalker's voice. "The old blood awakens. We're becoming what you were always meant to be. I don't want this," she shouted. "You don't have a choice." "The Karn returned, Commander Vera," shouted a Sarith officer on the bridge. "Karn ships inbound. 2 dreadnoughts, 20 escorts." Vera's claws flexed. "Prepare for combat." A Karn transmission broke through the comms of the warlords. Voice was a deep growl. "This is your final warning. Hand over the human girl, or be erased from the stars." "She is under Legion protection," Vera snarled. "Then she will die with you." The Karn fleet moved into attack formation. The Voidborn stirred, but before the Karn could fire, strange readings appeared on the sensors. "Unknown warp signatures," reported the technician. It's the Voidborn. Multiple ships dropping out of warp." On the main screen, dozens of spiny bioships appeared, surrounding both the Karn fleet and the Nova Primus. "They're encircling us," whispered a Koran officer. The largest shippa, massive living creature, the size of a small moon, opened its maw. From deep inside, guttural voice echoed across all channels. "Give us the Alpha, or all will burn." The fear in the command deck, officers turned to Vera. "They mean her," one said. "They're talking about the human." Lyra stood silently at the back of the room. Her claws itched. Her senses were overwhelmed by the scent of fear around her, and for the first time she didn't feel afraid. She felt powerful. "They won't stop coming," she said softly. Her voice carried across the room like a blade. "I need to face them." "The decision you can't fight them," Vera said sharply. "They're here for me," Lyra replied. "If I don't go to them, they'll kill everyone on this ship." Vera's yellow eyes narrowed. "You don't even know what you are yet." "Then I'll learn," Lyra said. She turned to leave. The Void Stalker's voice echoed faintly in her mind. "You are ready. Battle begins." As the Voidborn and Karn fleets clashed in space, Lyra stepped into the hangar bay. Her heart pounded in her chest. Her claws gleamed in the dim light. "Open the airlock," she ordered. Vera's voice came over the comms. "This is insane. Human. If you step out there, you won't survive." But Lyra didn't respond. She didn't feel human anymore. The airlock hissed open, and Lyra stepped into the void. The awakening the cold of space should have killed her instantly. But instead, she breathed. Her skin shimmered faintly, with a black organic sheen. Her eyes glowed gold from deep in her chest. A low growl rumbled. The Voidborn Alpha turned its massive head toward her. "So, the half-blood rises," it hissed. "You came." "For me," Lyra said calmly, "you are an abomination. Turn to the swarm, or be destroyed." "No," Lyra said softly. "I'm not one of you, and I'm not human either." She raised her claws. "I'm something worse." The apex battle, the Voidborn Alpha screeched. Its warriors surged forward. But Lyra moved faster than thought. She tore through the first Voidborn warrior with a single swipe of her claws, then the second, Her body moved on, instinct feral. Precise. Unstoppable. The Karn ships turned their weapons on her. But she dodged the blasts easily, cutting through Voidborn and Karn alike. The battlefield descended into chaos. The apex predators, Alpha On, the Nova Primus, Vera, and her crew watched in stunned silence. "She's winning," whispered a Seraph officer. "She's not just winning," Vera said. "She's dominating." Lyra landed on the hull of the Voidborn Alpha's massive Biodash ship. It roared and lashed out with tendrils. But she leaped forward and plunged, her claws deep into its pulsing heart. With one final roar, the Alpha exploded into black mist. The remaining Voidborn froze, and then they bowed. Cliffhanger ending in the silence that followed. Lyra floated alone in the void. Her glowing eyes scanned the battlefield. The Karn fleet fled in terror. The Voidborn ships drifted. Waiting in deep inside her mind, the voice of the Voidstalker whispered, "You are Alpha now." Lyra smiled faintly. "No," she whispered. "I am more than Alpha." Her claws flexed. "I'm their nightmare." The galaxy was silent. Every fleet, every world, every soldier. All eyes turned to the lone human girl drifting in the cold black void. But Lyra Hale was no longer just human. She was something far more terrifying. The Karn fled, Voidborn knelt, and in that moment, the balance of power across the stars shifted forever. The aftermath in the Nova Primus. Commander Vera stood on the viewing deck with her crew. She stopped them all," whispered a Seraph officer. "No," Vera said softly, her claws curling tight. "She rules them now." The Voidborns pledged. The remaining Voidborn ships floated silently around Lyra. The massive creatures bowed. Their heads in unison, their glowing blue veins dimming in submission. From the largest ship, a deep guttural voice echoed through her mind. "Alpha, we failed you. Command us, and we will obey." Lyra's golden eyes narrowed. "Why did you hunt me?" she asked coldly. "You were not ready. You were half-blood, a danger to yourself. But now you are whole." "Then listen to me," Lyra said. "I will not be part of your swarm. I am not your queen. I am their protector." She pointed back toward the Nova Primus. The Voidborn paused. "You would protect prey?" "They are not prey," Lyra growled. "They're mine. And if you disobey, I'll burn every one of you to ash." For a long, heavy moment, silence filled the void. Then the voice spoke again. "As you command, Predator Queen." Karn's last move on the far edge of the battlefield. The Karn warlord watched in fury as his fleet burned. "This cannot be," he hissed. The human was nothing, a weakling. But now, she had become their nightmare. "Prepare the planetary weapon," he ordered. "If we cannot kill the Queen, we'll destroy her homeworld instead." The decision inside the Nova Primus, Lyra returned to the command deck. She looked different now. Her golden eyes glowed faintly, even in the bright lights. Black markings traced faint lines across her arms like veins of living armor. The room fell silent as she entered. "You're not human anymore," Karn officer said nervously. "She's more than human," Vera said sharply. Lyra's voice was calm, steady. "The Karn are preparing to destroy Earth." "They wouldn't dare," a Seraph technician said. "They would," Lyra said. "And I'm going to stop them." The Predator Queen, Riz's Lyra, stood in the hangar bay. The Voidstalker waited beside her, its massive form coiled like a living shadow. "You're sure about this?" Vera asked over the comms. "This is the only way," Lyra said. "If you fail, we're finished," Vera said. "I won't fail," Lyra whispered. She turned to the Voidstalker. "Let's hunt." The final hunt the Voidborn fleet followed her into warp, their ships streaking like dark spears through space. When they emerged, the Karn homeworld loomed ahead. Dozens of dreadnoughts waited in orbit, their weapons already charging. The Karn warlord's voice boomed over the comms. "You are too late, girl. Earth will burn." Lyra's golden eyes narrowed. "Not today." She raised her hand, and the Voidborn swarmed forward like a living tidal wave. The Predator Queen's Ratha. Battle was chaos. Karn warships clashed with Voidborn bioships. Explosions lit up the void like falling stars. Lyra moved like a shadow, darting between enemy vessels, her claws slicing through hulls and engines with terrifying precision. The Voidstalker roared beside her, tearing through Karn soldiers like paper. "Protect the Queen," one Voidborn shouted. "The Karn warlord falls at last." Lyra reached the Karn flagship. She burst through the hull, her claws glowing with golden light. The Karn warlord waited for her on the command deck, massive frame armored in spiked bone. "You're no Predator," he hissed. "You're just a little Terran girl." Lyra tilted her head. "You're wrong," she said softly. "I'm your extinction." With a single slash, her claws cut through his armor, sending him crashing to the floor. The Karn fleet faltered. Their warlord was dead. The galaxy bows across the stars. Word spread fast. The human girl the galaxy had mocked had become the Predator Queen. Karn fleets surrendered. Voidborn swore loyalty. Even the Legion watched her with awe and fear. "She's not one of us anymore," Sarith scientists whispered. "She's something greater." The final choice, in the quiet of the viewing deck? Lyra stood alone. The Voidstalker watched her silently, its glowing eyes calm. "I didn't want this," she whispered. "But you were chosen," the Predator said. "Chosen for what? To lead, to hunt, to survive." She looked out at the stars. "I'll protect them, even if they hate me, even if they fear me." Her claws flexed. "Because I'm not just human anymore." Golden eyes glowed brighter. "I'm the galaxy's apex predator." The Endaz Lyra spoke. Fleets across the galaxy fell silent. Every world, every species, every soldier knew one truth: the Predator Queen had risen, and nothing would ever be the same.